Hi guys, my name is Jason from Mac School. In terms of my first video, I did mention saying that how the news and sentiment reacts. So for this particular video, I'm going to share with you what I'm going to do the following week, meaning from tomorrow onwards. On today it's 26. We are talking about 27 to 31st. How am I going to take trades? The pair that I'm going to focus on is actually euro versus US dollar and also pound versus US dollar, these two particular pair, because euro, it's in terms of sentiment, it's still going up. I mean, it's still strong. And then for dollar, in terms of sentiment, it's still very weak. Then for pound itself, in terms of sentiment, it's also strengthening itself. Okay, just a bit on the sentiment side, euro just pull in a what call that, the recovery fund, and then pound somehow it's following that particular, it's recovering. The whole situation over in London itself, UK, it's still recovering, so everything is quite okay, yeah. I would say COVID issue is slowing down over in UK. Then Europe also itself is slowing down, but in terms of US, COVID issue is getting worse and worse. I mean, just have a look at the COVID chart. We can see that for the past 2 days, Saturday itself, the data came out about 288,000 below the top practically. So then on Sunday itself, it came down a bit lower. So I'm suspecting that safe haven will still continue to move forward. The safe haven is still going to be strengthened because of these two particular data. It's a mess, I would say, worldwide. Still bad in terms of the situation. Then if we were to look at the country itself, let's click on the countries a bit. I mean, currently I'm monitoring COVID issue is because will there be a lockdown? It's affecting every country, I would say, in terms of their own economy issues. So if we were to look at US, yesterday was 2 days ago, it's 77,000, really bad, one of the highest one. Then yesterday itself is 67,000, so currently it's still coming out with the data. In terms of dollar, it's still really bad. But if you want to have a look at UK, just write there United King, I think UK like that. So the cases 2 days ago for UK, it's not that bad, it's plus 700 plus only. Then yeah, it's still good, I would say. So, but in terms of Europe, how do I see Europe? I'll just go to the graph, because Euro, it's the whole combination of a lot of countries into one particular union. So they don't have that particular Euro one, but we have here. We can see that the numbers of cases it's not climbing as bad as United States or US, but Europe still okay lah. Meaning that this particular, it's flattening. What we call this is start to flatten, so it's not as bad as US, which is like crazy. This particular thing, it's practically out of control, I would say. Okay, if they don't do something about it, most probably it will get worse. Okay, so then before I go into trades, I will actually look at economic calendar. I mean, one of the things that I usually look at, what I call here is the outlook or the data. So this particular data, it's where I will monitor, is there any weaknesses towards a certain price or not for me to take an entry. If the sentiment is good, sided to strength, usually I will wait for the data to push the price down before I enter. Because overall, sentiment means that the overall of the particular pair, or not pair, the currency itself is strong or weak. That's the only thing I want to know. If it's strong, I would actually buy the pair, but I do not want to buy at a high price or sell at a low price. I would like to have some retracement first before even I go into have a buy. So usually when I wait for retracement, I wouldn't actually sit in front of the chart and wait for retracement. I'll actually time myself. Okay, we can see very well that in I mean, this is Malaysia hours, GMT plus 8, 4 o'clock itself. Okay, Euro is expected to have some good data in, so most probably it will climb. But hopefully that tomorrow morning on Tokyo or Sydney open that time, the price actually comes down slightly more for me to take some entries first before it push through this. This one, there's a, if we were to work on pricing in, this one there's a chance or percentage that on 4 o'clock onwards or after 4 o'clock, the price will shoot back up again. But after it shoot back up again, then we can see that US data, it's better. Some of them is better than this is better, durable goods, but the rest are all worse than expected. If it's worse than expected, so we can actually carry through the whole Monday session for the client. It's just a percentage. This is how I trade. So if I will look at this, how I'm going to take on that trade, it's I actually have the whole lineup idea for euro versus dollar. So what we can see is spending sales is bad. Okay, so this is gonna weaken US further. This meant for crude oil. If you if you're oil trader or you monitor Canadian dollar, then this is something that you want to have a look. Then interest rate, it's coming up on Thursday by 2 o'clock in the morning. But here is actually we have the Federal Reserve actually mentioned something way back already. What they want to do. I'll just show you one of the news that came out. Okay, signal no interest rate increase until year 2022. So I don't expect any changes here because there's no news talking about decreasing or minusing or lowering the interest rate. There's nothing about it. And they also mentioned that up until 2022, they won't be increasing it. So most probably this particular data, it won't move much up. It might have some small little whiplash here and there, but most probably it won't go up or go down. So not much different. But what I really wanted to see is actually this particular policy statement. What comes out? What's the plan that Feds want to do? If we will know, if I personally go and find out what Feds want to do, I can actually do a forward guidance. This is how forward guidance works. We actually need to monitor or read up a lot of things. What their policy is? There a new policy? Is there a new stimulus? How they're going to counter the current issues and stuff like that. So there's a lot of reading, I would say. So this is part of the sentiment. And then other than that, nothing much. The GDP also shows there will be weakness. GDP is practically understandable why it's weak. Close down, lockdown, economy not moving, businesses not moving. Don't expect GDP to be good. All right. So other than that, nothing much. And overall for the whole week itself, I'm biased. My particular bias, it's euro will still continue to goes up, pound will continue to goes up, and dollar will be continue to weaken. This is my bias. So since I have my own bias already, based on my own sentiments, studies and analysis, and also meaning the whole fundamental behind it, and with all this data that coming out helps me a little bit more for how the price is going to push down, push up, push down, push down, and up for me to take some entries. So let's go back to the chart. So these are all the red lines. It's I only trade in 1 hour. Why I trade in 1 hour? Because I only day trade. I try to get into the market the same day. I will get into the market and get out from the market in the same day. I hardly carry forward my particular trade to the next the following day, because I don't want to this is my style. I only day trade. I intra the whole thing only. I don't hold long term like that. I enter here and get out here. No, I don't do that. I actually enter here and get out here, enter here and get out here, those type of structures. So how am I going to take this particular euro versus dollar, this particular pair? I know very well that in terms of my bias, it's euro is strong, dollar is weak. So if euro is strong, euro in front. So euro in front, I would actually look for a buy. Then dollar is weak. Then dollar weak means that price will continue to go up. These two particular pair are going to push the price up. So what I want to do is I would actually wait for the price to come back down here first, as near as this particular area, and then I'll still go entry already. And my style of entry is not a single lottage entry. I would actually start to average it. Maybe it reach around here already. Okay, nearby here. If I were to put one more here, that's actually another resistance here that being broke. Once it come down here, I would actually start layering, meaning that go in, go in, go in. Before that, let's calculate what's the amount of pips that we need to able to float. So For 40 pips, it's the particular entry that I'm going to press, meaning that this particular 40 pips area, it's my entry. I'm going to average it out throughout these 40 pips, and then I will stop. If it break this particular area, okay, break this particular support, I won't cut yet. My cut is actually here. This is where I cut all my price. If we break this particular area, okay, I will just take out all my positions. I won't enter anymore. Because in terms of structuring in technical side, what I see is that's a lot of price consolidated here and here. So these are an area that previously for the past 2 to 3 days, meaning last week, price they are having a warfare there. The buyer and the seller are pushing each other over here, and eventually the buyer went back in control, but also expected that it went back in control is because it's still strong. The overall euro is still strong, and overall dollar is still weak. Okay, that's a lot of issues ongoing here. We are talking about the US China trade. The US is getting into a lot of argument or a lot of issues with a lot of countries. I would say we have the 5G issues, then we have the what call that they sanction China as well. Too many issues. So this will affect them, and moreover it's election year. This year 2020 is the election year, so we are expecting more volatility and more weaknesses from the US dollar itself. So back to technical. So as long as it's come back here into this particular gap, I would actually start buying. So I'll just go in every 5 to 10 pips, one layer, one layer, one layer. Make sure that the funds it's sufficient. If your fund size is $1,000, my advice is just click 0.01 lot on standard account. Then you can just go in every 2 3 pips if you want. If you want every 5 pips, it's up to you. But calculate, because it's able to calculate every times that I go in here. My SL is here, so you are able to calculate. Then if it start to break here, okay, if it start to break here, let's say, then yeah, I will stop for a while, okay, and I'll monitor. If it start to come over here, then I will actually put in bigger lots. If it start to have bigger lots here and it start to break, and my final area, I can either choose here. If it break here and stop here, I cut it off, or it break here, then I say I don't want it here. I don't want to trade anything already. Because this style of areas, this style of particular points, I noticed that there's rejections happens there. Will price goes all the way down there, down here? I don't know. Will price continue goes up? I'm not too sure as well. But I only work with what my bias is. My bias is euro versus dollar. It's still want to go up. So what I can do is once it reach around here, I'll start entering. Then if it break here, I will give some gap here, then I will start entering here again. If it comes back here, then I can actually put my SL here or here. So yeah, that's it. So this is how I'm going to trade euro. It's a very simple thing. It's not complex, and I don't use any indicator. If I were to use indicator, I would actually use a stop for me to draft where's my support and resistance only. But I never use stop to for entry. I mean stochastic oscillator. It's practically I want to buy, so I'm trying to find where is the best buy only. This looks like the best buy to me over this area. Then this is looks like a why I want to enter here as well is because look at here, this particular not rejection, the consolidation, the argument or the warfare or the battle that between buyer and seller happens again. So these two area, it's quite good for me to consider an entry. If it break here, I usually don't do anything anymore, because for it to drop, for price to drop all the way to 150 pips, yeah, might have a new sentiment come out already. Even though it reach until here already, okay, or maybe reach until here already, that's about 100 pips area. I would actually go back to the sentiment and see is there any new development on the new sentiment or policies by ECB or by Federal Reserve. Because for price to drop that heavy after a climb this way, most probably there's something happens there. So this is how I work on. If there's something happens there and say that sentiment changed totally, saying that euro going to do something, ECB going to do something to weaken the pair, or dollar going to do something to strengthen that particular currency, not the pair lah. Okay, ECB says something going to weaken euro, or Federal Reserve going to say something, or put a new policy or a stimulus or some. They do something. Meaning we use one of the tools to push back this particular price to come back down here, then only it will move 100 over pips. For price to keep on climbing, it must have good news plus good news. For price to start to reverse, that's why reversal is a bit tricky. A lot of people want to catch the top and the top and the top and the top. I mean, catching the top, it's more or less like what I call trying to catch a falling knife. Usually we hurt ourselves. But if we have the fundamental to support it, you will notice that, hey, this is not the top yet, this is not the top yet, this is not the top yet. Why it's not the top yet is because there's no news about it saying that it might reverse. It will reverse. We need something heavy to push back down. In order for the price to push back, I mean, just give you an example. Okay, if you see there's a agreement and approval of recovery fund here, look at how much the price actually pushed. 200 pips within 4 days. Tuesday, then this is actually Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So within 4 days, price actually pushed 200 pips. This what we need is something like that, a heavy push, a recovery fund, 750 billion. Market reacted on Frankfurt open, and the price just boom, goes back up all the way. If I'm a day trader, I would actually say, hey, done. Okay, done my job. Retrace a bit, go in again. Retrace a bit, go in again. Retrace a bit, go in again. I just need to see, hey, where's my support? Where's my nearest support? If you want to learn how to draft the nearest support, what I do is actually use the pin on here. I mean, the lowest part. I can actually put it here if I want, but it looks like a good area. I can just leave it there. But this one, I usually use the one that is lowest one. So as long as I go nearest all the way there, I'll start buying. This one is just for gauge only. So let me just say it again. If the price comes back down around here, I'll start buying. If the price then this one I put there just now, like I mentioned, is just for me to have a gap, how much I want to go in over here. Then I'll let it breathe here, then I'll enter here again. And before I enter here again, I will actually look at the sentiment. Is there any changes on sentiment? If there's no changes of sentiment, there's nothing new about it, most probably I'll just continue to go in here. If it break here and around this area, meaning that around this area, before it reach here, I'll cut it off already if I'm wrong. See, we must have a cutoff point. If there's no cutoff point, well, yeah, what do you expect the price to go all the way down here and here and here? Yeah, things change already. Things might change. If things change already, if we were to still hold the losses against positioning, we will incur more losses. We want to make more and lose less. That's the whole idea. But a lot of times, because of emotional, we tend to make less and lose more. Not too sure why there's psychology issue is here. Okay, this is for how I'm going to trade euro versus dollar. And then if I go back to pound dollar, it's the same thing as well. You see, it's the same. So what I can do is I'll just mark over here. If the price ever comes back near here already, I'll start entering. Then let's calculate. It's the same. Here to here, that's about 50 pips. So I'm going to average this particular position for 50 pips. Why I do that is because same, look at the price being sitting here, rejecting here. Yeah, they are fighting. So it's a good area for me to start buying over here again. If it break here, okay, I will let it breathe a bit more, then I will go in here again, start my journey here again. But before I start, I actually look at the sentiment. Is there any new development on the sentiment again? If there's no new development sentiment, yeah, I'll just continue, go in at the higher lottage. Maybe I'll just put 0.01, 0.01 over here. Once it reaches already, I'll start going in at 0.02 for me. Okay, if it breaks this particular area, my last holding area, then I'll see the sentiment again. If it break, I'll have a look at the sentiment. If the sentiment, there's a new development on the sentiment, I'll cut off all my position. If there's no new sentiment, all right, I will consider whether I want to hold or not. But for that to happen, the price has actually dropped 120 pips. So if it drop 120 pips, most probably there's a new sentiment. I would mention if there's no new sentiment, usually the drop won't be that heavy one. These are data push. These are data push. The data came out say that pound is weak, but you look at how it actually climbed back up again because of why the whole pound is still strong in terms of overall. It's not saying that one particular single data give me a chance to entry. This is why I like to have a look at what's coming up next, if the price doesn't comes down for me to do a buy based on my whole analysis on the overall, I got no chance to enter. That's why I want to time it as well. Okay, when do I have some timing and stuff like that? Let's have a look here. I mean, here one thing good about uh correct this particular trading view is I can have a look. See, there's a lot of data came out here, so it's brilliant. So if the data will come out here, then if not mistaken, there's something ongoing here as well. It didn't come out only. I remember there's something here. But anyway, yeah, when it comes to dollar comes out with all their data, then look at it how it actually weakened this particular pair. Pound weaken it, dollar weaken. Dollar weak, it goes back up again and strengthen this particular pair. So now what I want to do with pound dollar, it's I still want to continue buying, and these are all my areas. These areas, if you want, I can actually use a rectangle and put it here. This is my area for me to go in. Okay, just to think I can how do I color it? Background border, background. Just yeah, I just put it here. This is my area for me to go in, and my second area would actually starts around here. But before I even enter this one, I would actually have I will look at the sentiment first. If the sentiment say otherwise, all this position I cut lah. Or else I won't hold anymore if the sentiment says otherwise. If the sentiments nothing come out, there's nothing, I'll just hold. That's all. All right. Okay, thank you very much for listening to me, and yeah, this is how I'm gonna take trades for pound dollar and also euro dollar this coming week. Thank you.